pictures or videos of tonight, I want to remember.
Oh, is that? And if you're telling me I gotta take
Tony. I wanted to say how thankful I am to see all of you here. Having this event at Gilda's Club means so much to me. This place represents community, strength, and the power to share stories. That is exactly what tonight is about. My book, Faith Through Hard Times, did not come easy from an easy season of life. It was written out of pain, confusion, and a time when I had to trust in God in ways I'd never had to before. These days were filled with fear, tears, and questions. One remained true. God never left me, even when I couldn't feel Him, even when situations seemed impossible. He was there, steady, faithful, and writing a story far bigger than I could see. That He had a purpose for my story even before I could see it. Something inside of me kept saying, keep going, and I did, because I believe that if God had brought me to it, that He'd bring me through it. During my fight with cancer, the long days, sleepless nights, treatments, exhaustion, tested me every day. And yet, I never wanted to give up. Deep down, I knew God was with me. One of my children's grandparents at daycare told me, Riley, you should write your story as a book. And I shrugged it off. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. But a week later, I had this gut feeling or audible voice of God telling me to write this story. It was clear, powerful, and an unmistakable call. From this moment, I knew Faith Through Hard Times wasn't just something I wanted to write. It was something I was called to write. It became my act of obedience, my way of saying, God, you brought me through this. I'll share it for your glory. This book means so much because it is not just my story, it's God's too. A verse that carried me through this journey was Isaiah 43:2. When you go through deep waters, I will be with you. It doesn't say if you go through deep waters, but when you go through deep waters. Hard times are a part of life, but God promises you'll never face them alone. Looking back, I see how God used what was meant to break me, to build me stronger. Deeper faith, greater compassion, and a desire to share hope with others, walking through their own storms. This is why I wear my Ask Me About My Testimony shirt today. My testimony is a proof that God still performs miracles. When doctors gave me uncertain answers, God gave me peace. When I felt weak, He gave me strength. When I wondered if I'd ever see purpose again, He turned my pain into something beautiful that could help others. To my family and friends, thank you for standing by me, praying for me, and believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. To everyone at Gilda's Club, thank you for creating a place where people can find community, healing, and strength. During treatment, it was every 3 months they would do a scan, and then after that it was every 6 months, and now I've moved to yearly. again. Unless I get any symptoms, and then I'll do a scan sooner.
What would you say was the worst time during your whole treatment?
After my brain biopsy, lumbar puncture. The lumbar puncture did not seal properly, and I was leaking spinal fluid whenever I stood up, and I got really nauseous, had major headaches, and I think we went the second evening into the ER. The first evening I had a friend from church come over, and she prayed over me, and I seemed fine through the night, and I was able to make it through the night. And then I got up to use the bathroom, and it all came back because I was leaking more. So we wound up going to the ER that evening. My mom she would have called an ambulance.
It was terrible. And you know, when you have a lumbar puncture, when you're laying down,
You're fine because you're not draining your spinal fluid.
but when you go upright or even enough to drive in the car, the spinal fluid, it drains and it causes her to vomit. And it was the worst
I
drive.
was throwing up to the point I was dry heaving.
It was horrible.
But I managed to put my pain aside. She's a terrible city driver, so I managed.
So she could still tell me where to go.
I managed to put my pain aside to tell her where to turn to go to the emergency room because we had to go to Abbott and we're used to going to Children's, and they were still on hospital guidelines or COVID guidelines.
I thought she would be fine because she was okay as long as she was laying down.
They didn't want to let her stay the night with me. And this would have been my first night either away from my twin or away from any of my family. So my first night alone. And we said, we're going to a different hospital if you don't let her stay. And they said, well, you're sick enough. We'll let her stay, just don't tell anyone.
Yeah, we'll sneak her in, just don't tell anybody.
Don't put it in your book or anything.
Yes, I did. So then they gave me pain meds and anti-nausea meds to get through the night because they couldn't do anything that night. So we went at like 9, 10 o'clock at night to the ER. And then I was told that only one of the, I forget what they're called, but one of the doctors would work with me because of my NF, because the possibility of tumors being on the spine. So he was in later that evening, and I was starting to feel better because I had been laying down all night. So I sat up, started eating. Well, you had to be in heel for the blood patch to seal the lumbar puncture.
NPO means nothing but mouth.
Yeah, nothing but mouth.
NF means neurofibromatosis.
Yes.
PO means nothing but mouth.
Yeah, nothing but mouth.
NF means neurofibromatosis.
Yes. And so we had to wait through that because pain creeped back in. And then finally I got a blood patch that evening and was home the next day, and then left the following day for my brain biopsy. But that was probably one of the hardest times going through treatment.
What is it? I'm sure.
I'm not going to use medical terms. They poke a tiny hole in your spine and suck out spinal fluid to test your spinal fluid to see if there's any tumors on your spine or in your spine.
But they didn't.
It's a big needle.
Oh.
I was told that I was not shown that.
Oh.
Probably my parents, along with growing up in church all my childhood. My mom is very deep in her faith and has taught me to rely on God in difficult times. We lost my little sister when, how old was she? 6 months?
5 months.
A little over under 5.5 months.
When she was 5.5 months. So she showed me through that. I was 7 at the time, and she showed me through that how much you can rely on God through hard times.
Oh, and you had a slain by the Spirit.
Oh yes. So in
That was for all of us. We didn't know that somebody could
Yeah.
pray over somebody.
So in December of 22, we thought things were getting worse because I couldn't feel anything on my right side, which was an effect of the brain biopsy because I was kind of mad at them. They went in and did the midbrain to test that tumor, but then they went further in and they got by the thalamus. And
well, they tested both
yes,
sides.
but we were told they were only gonna do the midbrain, because we knew if they tested the thalamus one, there might be issues with that. I wrote on Caring Bridge that I wasn't able to get a scan for 2 weeks, but I'm experiencing these symptoms and struggling. And then a friend of mine reached out to me. I wrote a book. Reached out to me and said I was diagnosed with a brain tumor because I had eye surgery because my eyes were crossing, and they found a tumor on my thalamus, which was benign at that time. And anytime I had sensory changes, because it was on the thalamus, they did MRI scans, and I had yearly scans just to keep watch on it. And it never really changed. In 2019, it caused numbness, so I was on a maintenance chemo to try to shrink it, but it just changed cell-wise. It didn't shrink at all. And then in April of 22, my feet started tingling. And we didn't really know why, so we went in for a scan, and they found a new part to this tumor. Initially, they thought it was a separate tumor, but it wound up just being a growth from the new tumor into the midbrain, and it grew. And they said, oh, we'll do another scan in 3 months. However, my medical assistance through the state, because I was adopted at age 3, was expiring because I was graduating high school. So I said, no, how about we do it in 6 weeks instead? Because that's when my medical assistance goes out. And they agreed to do it in 6 weeks, and the tumor had grown 0.5 millimeters by 1.5 by 1.5 millimeters in just 6 weeks. So this was a very aggressive growing tumor. And that's when they decided to do a brain biopsy on it to see what kind of cancer they were dealing with. And they did a spinal tap to see if I had cancer in my spine. I did not have cancer in my spine. I was told if it was in my spine, it would have been a lot easier to treat. And I was given less than 5% chance of making it a year. And here I am.
And it's been how long now?
Let's see, I was considered in remission September 23rd of 23. So it's been 2 years of being in remission. I will never be considered cured because unless the tumor, and God can certainly do it, miraculously disappears, I will never be considered cured because the tumor is still there. But I can be considered in remission as long as it's not glowing or active.
Do the chances of remission or of continuing or staying in remission increase as time goes on?
I was told that it has a very high chance of coming back. I don't think it does. I also was told that pregnancy hormones can cause it to come back faster as well.
Your MRIs are less often now.
Yes, they went, so during treatment, it was every 3 months they would do a scan. And we went, so during treatment, it was every 3 months they would do a scan, and then after that it was every 6 months, and now I've moved to yearly again. Unless I get any symptoms, and then I'll do a scan sooner.
What would you say was the worst time during your whole treatment?
After my brain biopsy, lumbar puncture. The lumbar puncture did not seal properly, and I was leaking spinal fluid whenever I stood up, and I got really nauseous, had major headaches, and I think we went the second evening into the ER. The first evening I had a friend from church come over, and she prayed over me, and I seemed fine through the night, and I was able to make it through the night. And then I got up to use the bathroom, and it all came back because I was leaking more. So we wound up going to the ER that evening. My mom she would have called an ambulance.
It was terrible. And you know, when you have a lumbar puncture, when you're laying down,
You're fine because
Yeah.
you're not draining your spinal fluid.
but when you go upright or even enough to drive in the car, the spinal fluid, it drains and it causes her to vomit. And it was the
So,
worst
I
drive.
was throwing up to the point I was dry heaving.
It was horrible.
But I managed to put my pain aside. She's a terrible city driver, so I managed.
So she could still tell me where to go.
I managed to put my pain aside to tell her where to turn to go to the emergency room because we had to go to Abbott and we're used to going to Children's, and they were still in hospital guidelines or COVID guidelines.
I thought she
So-
would be fine because she was okay as long as she was laying down. at
They
home.
didn't want to let her stay the night with me. And this would have been my first night either away from my twin or away from any of my families. My first night alone. And we said, we're going to a different hospital if you don't let her stay. And they said, well, you're sick enough. We'll let her stay, just don't tell anyone.
Yeah, we'll sneak her in, just don't tell anybody.
Don't
you're
put it in
here.
your book or anything.
Yes, I did. So then they gave me pain meds and anti-nausea meds to get through the night because they couldn't do anything that night. So we went at like 9, 10 o'clock at night to the ER. And then I was told that only one of the, I forget what they're called, but one of the doctors would work with me because of my NF. Because of the possibility of tumors being on the spine. So he was in later that evening, and I was starting to feel better because I had been laying down all night. So I sat up, started eating. Well, you had to be in PO for the blood patch to seal the lumbar puncture.
NPO means nothing by mouth.
Yeah, nothing by mouth.
NF means neurofibromatosis.
Yes. Meeting the person who made that song just was incredible. Another song was Firm Foundation. That was the first song I heard in church after my diagnosis. My mom was looking for, what med did you have to, the one that doesn't affect your blood, the pain med. We couldn't do Tylenol, I think you had to find ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And she was just going person to person, do you have ibuprofen? No, but I have Tylenol because I had bumped my
You know,
incision
she
site on
was
top of the car.
Wearing something over her head. She had an open incision right here. People are like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're back at church," and they pat her on the head.
Right on my incision
Right.
site.
Yeah. And she needed medicine in church. She was in a lot of pain.
So then they played this song, and it was the first time I had heard it, and I just broke down. One of the lines in it is, Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. And that's when it hit me, and I just started sobbing.
off topic, but did you meet your husband at first?
No, so I met him on, this was November after I had been considered in remission. September to November, I was starting on a dating app called Upward. It's a Christian dating app. And initially I was afraid to put myself out there because I didn't know how long this remission would last. I didn't know if anyone would want me because I had been through cancer. And there were a couple deaths, couple people who I started messaging and they would just quit messaging back. And then I met Brent, my husband, and that was right around Thanksgiving time. And we just started messaging back and forth. And then around January, I stopped for some reason getting notifications for the dating app, so I wouldn't know when he'd send me messages. So I said, "Are you on Facebook so we can message through Facebook?" And he said yes, so we became Facebook friends and started communicating that way. And then in February, early February, February 10th, we met for the first time at Panera Bread. And my Aunt Tony and my twin sister Noah came along, sat in the back of the restaurant. Funny thing was, he saw my twin sister, didn't think anything of it.
They're identical twins.
Yes. And I struggled to open my chip bag because I got chips with my meal. And I had assumed he noticed my lack of coordination, being unable to open that chip bag. And then I just gave him my whole story. I was not planning on telling him my story because I didn't want to necessarily just go out there and tell him my story right away. But he sat there attentively listening and said, "I'll be there through thick and thin with you." And then we got engaged on October 10th, same year, and then married June 14th this year.
So it's all- Thank God for Paneras.
So every time you open a chip bag now.
So romantic.
Most of the time I use my mouth and pinch the bag and pull it open. But I'm like, I'm on a date. I'm not doing that.
Paneras is too good to.
We still have yet to go back to that Panera. It was Maple Grove Panera, and we live in Lakeville, so it's a drive. He was in Mid Lake, and I was in Farmington at the time. So kind of midway was Maple Grove, so we went there. And then he drove down every single weekend after to see me. Because I don't drive.
I'd like to extend an invitation that we segue and feed the people here, and then we could return and do some book signings. Does that sound good? And maybe we can mingle a little bit while we're eating. Our board has done such a beautiful job. We wanted to host nice dinner for you. So does this seem like a good time to do that? Anybody have any questions before we?
I have a final question, different from what we've been talking about. How do you decide how many books to print when you self-publish?
So when you self-publish on Amazon, they do all the printing for you.
Yeah.
So, like today I have 10 copies here. Whenever you order it, they print it. So I don't choose how many they print.
It's on demand.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on demand.
You order it on Amazon.
So if anybody here wants to buy
Buy a copy.
can we Venmo you?
Yes.
Do you have a Venmo
Yeah.
QR code?
Yep.
So if anybody isn't staying
Or
to eat with
cash.
us, and you want to purchase a book, how much are they?
$10.
$10. And will you you'll sign for us if
Oh,
something can't stay.
And then I have little note cards here or bookmarks. You can take a few so that when you tell someone about it, it has the link to buy it. And then just a little bit about the book. Possibly. If I feel called.
Maybe about marriage. you need a lot of faith.
Yes, definitely. Especially when your husband is a different political party.
All right, well.
Time to go.
So we'd love to have you come join us for food, and we'll let you eat, but we'll also then, if you think of other questions, and thank you so much for just being present with us tonight.
You also take pictures of me if you want, with me.
Okay.